Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. It's crazy how things change fast, how so much can change over such a short period of time, whether it be individuals growing up and all of a sudden your boy becomes a man, your young girl, your daughter becomes a woman, the world evolves, technology hits, and all of a sudden society changes drastically, or in such a short period of time, in maybe a decade or so, politics goes from relatively common sense and bipartisan truths to the Democrats going absolutely insane and losing their frickin' minds, becoming woke zombie clones, all parroting the same garbage, pseudo-academic, pseudo-intellectual talking points. And that's why Democrat inconsistency and Democrat hypocrisy flashbacks are so powerful. They take all these woke stances nowadays because that's what's in, the current trend. But if you go back just a little bit, you see the same exact Democrat thought leaders holding completely different viewpoints. And this one right over here is a real blast from the past, especially as CNN grifter Don Lemon is currently in the headlines. And so let's do a CNN Don Lemon flashback and talk about the woke insanity phenomenon that's taken over the mainstream left. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, here's a clip of Don Lemon from a little bit over a decade ago. You'll notice the difference almost instantly.
Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5. And if this doesn't apply to you, if you're not doing this, then it doesn't apply to you. I'm not talking about you. Here's number 5. Pull up your pants. Walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon. And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex. The one with the really low pants is a submissive one. You get my point? Number 4 now is the N-word. By promoting the use of that word when it's not germane to the conversation, have you ever considered that you may just be perpetuating the stereotype the masser intended, acting like? Now number 3, respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here. Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. A high school dropout makes on average $19,000 a year. A high school graduate makes $28,000 a year. A college graduate makes $51,000 a year. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's a lot of money. And number 1, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should, especially without planning for one or getting married first. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male role model is an express train right to prison. And the cycle continues.
Now that CNN Don Lemon flashback right over there essentially proves that Little Lemonhead is nothing but a grifter. Recently little CNN Donnie's name has been in the news. Some of the viral, controversial moments that he's been involved in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, where he's been showing his true colors, the real Don Lemon has been showing itself in a more conversation form on his morning show. And so it shows you the difference between publicly held beliefs and actual private personal beliefs. This is what Don Lemon actually believes. He'll just never say it because he's playing a woke role on TV. And that's what all the Democrats, all the mainstream Democrat politicians are essentially doing. They don't actually believe what they say, they just say it because it's the woke, trendy thing to do. That little CNN clip is probably what they're all saying behind closed doors. Those are probably the talking points that most elitist Democrats agree with. They'll just never say it publicly because that's the crazy backwards world that we live in. Don Lemon can say what he wants about Nikki Haley. Democrats can issue the most insane, vitriolic, violent talking points targeting Donald Trump and other right-wingers. They can say the most insane woke stuff you could possibly imagine. They can push medical procedures for minors or talk about the age of consent innocent, being lower than it already is, and they'll get away with all of that, of course, because it fits the woke doctrine. Even some of the talking points that they have where they've rebranded, the worst type of human being to minor attracted people, and some of the absolutely despicable talking points that we've heard recently related to that topic of discussion from the woke left, they could say all of that and it's a non-issue. But if Don Lemon was to say what Don Lemon was saying on TV 10 years ago, today, well, he'd be canceled in a flash. If Don Lemon said what he truly believed, well, the Los Angeles Times would probably be releasing an article titled Don Lemon, the black face of white supremacy, just like they did with Larry Elder. It's funny how we just time travel 10 years ago and all of a sudden, the Democrat collective opinion, all the rhetoric is completely different. Now they call Donald Trump and Republicans extreme, but Republican stances haven't really changed that much. In fact, I'd even argue that Republican opinions have become more moderate, and many so-called conservatives these days are closer to Bill Clinton than they are towards being a genuine conservative. Meanwhile, the left clearly has shifted, and that's why we're able to pull these flashback moments that show you this drastic total 180. I mean, just recently with all these Democrats telling us how extreme it is that Republicans want to negotiate using the debt ceiling as a bargaining chip, how terrible and extreme that is. Meanwhile, there's like a million clips of Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden and other Democrats from a couple years ago to 10 years ago basically advocating for the same thing.
Of those talks about the good faith and initiative that is being taken there, and that working together, if we are determined to reduce the deficit, we will, and we will have that message in a timely fashion so that we cannot default on our debt in a timely fashion, and hopefully that will be soon.
I don't think the American people are interested in blaming somebody. They want people to fix problems and offer solutions. They're not interested in finger pointing, and neither am I. What I want to do is get the business of the American people done. Now, we'll have time to have a long discussion about next year's budget, as well as the long-term debt and deficit issues, where we're going to have some very tough negotiations.
It's the same thing on the border. Donald Trump is a real racist for saying America needs a southern border wall, but Democrats were pushing for the same kinds of policies just a decade ago.
I voted numerous times when I was a senator to spend money to build a barrier to try to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in. And I do think you have to control your borders.
An illegal alien should not be treated the same as people who entered the U.S. legally. The American people will never accept immigration reform unless they truly believe that their government is committed to ending future illegal immigration.
Because we live in an age where terrorists are challenging our borders, we cannot allow people to pour into the U.S. undetected, undocumented, and unchecked.
I mean, Barack Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief, but now no human is illegal and borders are racist. For Pete's sakes, Joe Biden was the architect of mass incarceration, according to Cory Booker, by writing the 1994 crime bill. But now, of course, the prevailing ideology when it comes to left-wingers in the Democrat establishment is that police officers are inherently racist or part of a systemic racist structure. Elon Musk has it right. It's the woke mind virus. And a virus spreads, and it spreads quickly. And over the last decade or so, and frankly, less than a decade, Democrat thought, left-wing thought, has become so incredibly diseased and corrupted. Another great example, these are the same leftoids who used to protest the military-industrial complex and these needless, endless wars, and now they're the biggest Pentagon shills imaginable, promoting conflict in Eastern Europe above all else. A bunch of warmongering shills, and they don't even seem to be able to absorb their clear, abundant hypocrisy. From one side of their mouth, they're going to say something like, we need to take money out of the military and out of defense spending so we can fund important social programs. The military budget is bloated and we should be spending money elsewhere. And then the other side of their mouth, oh my God, endless cash, an open blank check to Ukraine. Take my money, Zelensky. What do you think I'm paying taxes for over here? The entire Democrat establishment and Democrat media, talking heads, the whole collective is one collective grift. None of these people actually believe what they say. They just give in to whatever is culturally relevant, whatever the cultural now trend is. They purposely ignore the truth regardless of whether or not they actually know better. In most cases, they do know better. They'll just never admit it. Although that's kind of the unfortunate thing for them. 10 years ago, they essentially were admitting the truth, and that's why these flashback moments are so incredibly potent. It's funny how things change. It's an interesting phenomenon to observe. The Democrat left-wing body politic in its diseased downward spiral after being infected by the cultural woke mind virus. That's what I got for you guys, though. Hopefully you enjoyed this blast from the past. A real interesting flashback, to say the least. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and hopefully, of course, I'll see you on the next one.